Hi, my name is Richard Millington, and welcome back to the Fever Bee YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to look at how you put together a very basic community strategy. I've spent the last 15 years working with a whole variety of different organizations, and what I found is everyone thinks they're really good at strategy, but most of the strategies actually would mean the organization is working on the wrong thing. And what we want to do is make sure when we develop a strategy, there are certain things that are in place to make sure the organization is working on the right thing. And we're going to go through it together because when we think of strategy, we think of something that's based in data and research that we've done that understands where the organization is today, where that community is today, and where that community needs to go tomorrow and how we get there. And I'll take you through some of the questions we think about for this, and then some examples of what that looks like in practice. So the very first thing we look at with almost any kind of community that we're brought in to help with is the results. Like fundamentally, is the community successful or not? And that means we look at this layer here, the very inner layer, which is the community deflecting a lot of support calls? Is it helping the organization achieve good retention rates? Is it getting good feedback, success, engagement, whatever that metric is, whatever metric the organization cares about? This is the first thing we look at. And we first look to see whether the organization is happy with those metrics or not. And then we look to see which direction are they going in. Are they going up or down? Are they heading in the right direction or not? But results aren't achieved in isolation. So the next thing we look at is the layer around that community, as in, what is that community experience? What is the superuser program like? What is the onboarding journey like? The user experience, positioning, these kind of things. But this layer in turn is informed by the organization layer. This is where we look at the tolerance for risk, the technological constraints, stakeholder support alignment, budget, rate of growth, the priorities of that organization, and the capabilities of the community team. The organization layer is important because that dictates what you can do at the community layer. So we really need to understand is, are these things going well today? And is there a lot of change or not? Is the environment relatively stable or not? And we'll come back to that in a second. And even the organization lives within the macro layer. Things like new laws and regulations, the actions of competitors, the rise of new technologies, changing audience needs and desires, the growth of the sector. Is the economy growing or shrinking? And is this thing changing or not? For each of these questions, is it stable or not? Stability is a really important thing. And once we have the answers to these questions, we can put together a very simple diagnosis of where the community is today. So here's some examples where we might have a situation where the results are the engagement is flat and new member retention is under 20%. That might be because in the community experience, members report an unclear purpose and limited interaction. The organization itself might have no internal owner for the community and unclear metrics that they're tracking. And then we can diagnose this. The community is drifting due to a lack of internal ownership and a weak member experience. That's our diagnosis based on data. And diagnosis is always the first part of any strategy that you should be putting together for your community. Another example, referral traffic is slowed. Participation is down 18% in 6 months. When we look at the community experience layer, we might find that members feel their contributions go unnoticed. The organization might be reducing their investment and shifting focus to product feedback. We might find community roles are evolving across the industry. Then we can diagnose this too. The community is losing momentum due to declining internal support and a fading value loop for members. Another example, community growth is good, but activation remains low. Members join but don't know where to start. And that could be because the new platform was recently adopted, but the team lacks onboarding processes. And it could be AI tools also reducing dependence on peer support. So now we can diagnose this too. The community is underperforming because new members aren't effectively activated and trends are shifting support expectations. And finally, it could be retention and activity are strong, but impact on product insights are minimal. Conversations are high volume, but low depth. Stakeholders want strategic insights, but they don't engage themselves. And it could be that competitive communities are evolving into thought leadership hubs. So now we can see here the community is healthy, but misaligned with stakeholder goals and external trends. So we always begin with a diagnosis. This is a simplified version, but we always begin with a diagnosis that's a little bit like this. And once we have this, we can start thinking about what is the type of strategy that we need here. Because different types of strategies will take you in a completely different direction. And I think the vast majority of organizations I've worked with don't usually know what type of strategy that they're pursuing. And the type of strategy depends on two things. We talked about these already. Is the community successful or not? Are the metrics at the results layer heading in the right direction or not? And then is the environment, what's happening in the organization and the macro environment, stable or not? So if your community is successful and in a stable environment, then you can focus on optimizing what you're doing. In a later video, I'll explain what each of these strategies look like, but for now, let's just go through the types of strategy. If the community is successful, but the environment is changing, then the most critical thing to do is to bring the community into line with what's happening in that environment. It might be changing the goals, it might be changing the technology, it might be changing or satisfying different audience needs. If your community is not successful, or the metrics are not heading in the right direction, but the environment is stable, this is where you need to repair what's not working. This is where we do a root cause analysis to find out exactly what the issue is. We identify solutions by finding similar examples and best practices, and then we prioritize them. And finally, if your community is not successful and the environment is changing, why would you keep doing what you're doing? That makes absolutely no sense at all. So what we want to be doing here is either shutting the community, revamping the community, maybe discontinuing and relaunching it in a different guise, different concept for that community. But you see immediately, different strategies lead you down completely different directions. And you can see an idea of what the guiding actions begin to look like here. We have the diagnosis, we know what type of strategy we need, and then we can find the right kind of actions to match. And it's easy to brainstorm a lot of ideas of what you could do to optimize, adapt, repair. And again, I'll go into this in more depth in a later video. But what we want to do is have a framework. As consultants, we always try and think of what is the framework for solving the problem here. And a very simple one to think about here is what's high impact and what's the cost. So there's quick wins, things that are high impact and don't cost a lot to implement in time or resources. Prioritize these now. Just get these done. This is the lowest hanging fruit, things that you could implement right now. And there's things that are high impact and high cost. These are the long-term projects. When you think about what that roadmap looks like in 3 months, 9 months, or 18 months, these are the things that belong in that roadmap because you usually have to budget for these and build internal support for them. Then you have things that are low cost and low impact. These are your experiments. You can test these out and you should always have a couple of things that you're doing here. But you can test these out and see if they work. Then obviously avoid the things that are high cost or low impact. It doesn't make any sense to pursue them. But always prioritize what you're doing by this kind of framework. And finally, we can bring this all together into a very simplified version of what a strategy might look like. We have a diagnosis of where the community is today, the policy that we're going to follow that guides all the actions we're doing, and then a prioritized list of actions, as you can see here. Again, this is a simplified version. In practice, there's a lot more complexity to this. But if you just get these 3 stages right, you'll be doing far better and you'll be far more certain that you're working on the right thing than most of the organizations out there today. Hopefully you found this video useful. And if you're interested in learning more, then you can check out our strategic community management course. This is going to be a course where we cover the right programs to take your community to the next level. What do you need to implement? How do you know what you should be working on at any time? And enrollment is now open. Hopefully I'll see some of you there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.